guess we'll get started. It's a couple minutes before 8, but you guys are also prompt and ready to go. We'll keep things moving. I'd like to thank everybody for coming today to our Oliphant location. We're pretty proud. This is 3 years here now. I'm happy to be able to present Vern Duick today, the creator of MagnumStone. Came in all the way from Western Canada for us, Vancouver-ish. Hey. Now we're excited about this product. I think, we did the same thing yesterday with the turnout yesterday and today. Obviously, people are starting to hear about it, and there's a lot of interest. I always tell the story that a couple years ago we wanted to get into the precast retaining wall block business, and we looked at all the systems, including Ready Rock, which most of you have heard that name, been around a long time, but we feel we had the luxury of choosing the best system to produce. So we're pleased to have MagnumStone. We think it's a great system, and Vern's going to talk to you a little bit today about the system and the block. He'll talk for about an hour. We'll take a 15-minute break afterwards, and if you'd like to stick around, we'll show you how the corners work, and we'll put a couple blocks on the wall. And then Bart Sacco will come and show you guys how the acid staining process works. If you're interested in learning about that, you can see what we did yesterday. He'll demonstrate that for you guys today. It's pretty neat. Anybody here could do it. Nice little value-added thing you guys can do for your customers. So with that, I'll give you Vern, and I hope you guys enjoy what you're about to learn.
General contractor.
Thanks, guys. Bit about myself. I was a contractor for years. Back in 1972, I went to Europe and I played volleyball for a university team, and we put a national team together and played some of the Dutch and German national teams. And I was sitting in Amsterdam and watching the Dutch pull up the cobblestones in the street and do whatever repair they were doing and then put it all back together. And I had no idea that I would go back a month later and start installing paving stones. Back then, that was the company I worked for, did a contracting company for. That was the second paver machine in all of North America. There was no instructions, no kind of anything. I had to figure it all out myself. So I did a demo driveway, patio, walkway for the company. And then they asked me to start a contracting company to install paving stones. So that was back in '72, long time ago. I'm old. And grew the company to where we were doing about 500,000 square feet of pavers a year. I worked both in Vancouver and in Seattle, and we had up to 12 crews. We were doing about 100,000 square feet of walls a year and some high-end masonry. 50% of our contracting was done commercially, 50% residential. The residential helped us with cash flow. I'm sure some of you guys know that commercial aid, they don't always like to pay as quickly. Residential, you can get 50% up front and you can start doing some, you have some better cash flow. We did a lot of design build for architects and for the homeowner. I would go in and we would do the creative stuff and put together the whole project. In '93, I went down to Seattle and I started getting introduced to the retaining wall systems, and I started designing my own stuff from an end user point of view. I got frustrated with Keystone that the pins, I lost the pins in the curves, convex concave curves. In the corners, I couldn't get those pins to work and I had to drill, and it just frustrated me, so I designed my own product so that I could be more flexible in the field. So all my products that I've developed come from that end user point of view. How is it going to work best for you guys as contractors in the field? And then I work backwards. Can we produce the product? Can we engineer the details in the product? All those kind of things. So in '97, I sold my contracting company and went full-time into developing retaining wall products and other products, tools, equipment, and machinery. So that's sort of my background. What I'll do is, and then we also, most of the product that I originally developed were in the dry cast business. I don't know if you guys know the difference between dry cast and wet cast. Dry cast is made on usually block machine, Bessers or Columbia block machines. They use very, very little moisture, just enough moisture to activate that cement in that product, but they use high vibration and pressure, 5,000 pounds of PSI pressure on that block to create a detail on that product, and then it gets pushed out and then it gets put into kilns. That happens every about 8 to 10 seconds. They can make a cycle. Wet cast, you have to pour the concrete into a form and allow it to cure probably for at least a day, or sometimes you can strip it earlier if you have some accelerators in there. But that's a little longer process. But the density of a wet cast versus a dry cast, the durability of a wet cast versus a dry cast is quite significant, especially when you're working in water or high freeze-thaw cycling areas. You prefer to have a wet cast product. If you're in an area where there's going to be a lot of salt spray from streets, you want a wet cast. It's much more durable than the dry cast products. So that's sort of the difference in that. The wet cast also gives us a lot of advantages to create some really neat faces and stuff like that. So it's a little more creative in what we can do with the textures.